you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, stop. You need to watch this video first. So you're scrolling online, you're seeing gorgeous listing photos, amazing descriptions, and maybe even Google Street Map makes the neighborhood look perfect. But there are so many things that you need to watch out for and the dark side of Vegas in some areas. One of the biggest mistakes that families make when moving to Las Vegas is relying heavily on those pretty listing photos and perfect descriptions. But things that you're not gonna see there are that your streets might turn into speedways at night, the dog barking constantly next door, the apartment complex around the corner, or commercial area that has constant police activity. All of these nuisances are going to be things that are going to make your family miserable. But in this video, I'm gonna give you tips and tools to make sure you find the area that is going to be perfect for your family. Before I give you some of the ways to check areas and neighborhoods and to see what you are and aren't going to like, let's get into some of the things that you should be looking for that you can't see online. The first one is going to be noise. Now, as I've mentioned, a house can look perfect online. You can have really pretty pictures, but maybe you don't know it backs up to a busy road, or you're under a flight path near a fire station, train line, or loud commercial area. You're close to a short-term rental, a party house, or maybe a bar that during the day seems nice and quiet, but at night has absolute ragers. Number 2, look for nuisance properties. There are some clusters of homes or apartments that attract repeated problems like too many vehicles, loud gathering, trash issues, loitering, or constant disturbances. The descriptions on Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor.com are not going to warn you about these. Number 3 is crime patterns. You want to look for what crime is in the area. Is it mostly car break-ins, domestic disturbance calls, noise complaints, commercial spillover? Is it concentrated in one area near one corner, or is it all spread out? All of this really matters. Number 4, late night activity. Vegas is a totally different place in the daylight than it is at, say, maybe 10 p.m. or midnight. Areas can become a totally different story. And not all of Las Vegas. A majority of it is suburban feel, quiet neighborhoods, but we are still Las Vegas. We're Sin City, nightlife, 24-hour activity, tourism, and a shift work culture, and it can really affect different neighborhoods. Number 5 is your street-by-street differences. This is huge in Las Vegas, especially as a large city. One subdivision can feel really quiet, peaceful, family-friendly. Then just a couple streets over, it'll completely change. You'll have an industrial complex, a large street that's really noisy behind another house. You can't judge an entire area just by the zip code or an entire master plan area. So before we get into your tips on how to check areas properly or the tools to really deep dive, the reason why families need to dig deeper is when you're moving, you're not just buying the house. You're buying the area for your family. Your child's walk to the car, taking your dog for a walk at night, feeling that your spouse is safe when they're at home and you're not, and bedtime noise levels. So let's talk about tips to actually check an area properly and make sure it's right for you and your family. Tip 1, visit at different times of day. If you really want to see a neighborhood, come back after we've viewed the home. Now, if this is really the home for you and you want to make sure that you get your offer accepted, let's go ahead and write that offer, and you can do the following things during your due diligence period. You want to come back and see the area in the morning, in the evening, and after dark if possible. Now, why is this? Because the energy of a neighborhood can change with different times of day. In the morning, you're going to see your commute to school or to work. The evening is going to tell you about parking and additional traffic, neighborhood activity when everyone's home, and nighttime, specifically after dark, is going to tell you about noise, parking issues, loitering, and things that are going to be a nuisance to you. Tip number 2, drive the surrounding area and streets, not just the subject property and that specific neighborhood. A lot of people will pull up to the house, see the street they love, and that's it. They'll leave. But that is not enough. You want to drive your commute to schools, to work, to your closest grocery store, to the freeway, entrances and exits to the neighborhood, streets behind the home, especially if they might be larger streets, closest shopping centers, and if there's any apartment complexes or possibly nuisance properties nearby. The issue might not be the house or the street itself, but what is just one block away. Tip number 3, park. Roll your windows down. Get out of your car and stop and just listen. Are you hearing dogs barking, constant freeway hum, music, commercial trucks? Maybe you're in a flight path. All of these things can be a huge nuisance to your family. They don't necessarily mean a bad area, but it's something that's really gonna grate on your nerves. Tip number 4, check the lighting at night. Referring back to tip number 1, I did say to drive it at different times of the day. At night, if safety is a concern, you're gonna look for nighttime lights like street lights or even front porch lights, and it matters more than you might think. You wanna look for dark sideways, poorly lit entrances, dead end pockets that don't have great visibility, maybe some back alleys or side paths, and maybe even some parks that feel isolated after dark. However, most of our parks do have streetlights or bright lights late at night because of the heat, but that's for a different video. So even though the crime might not be extreme, poor lighting can just make an area not feel as safe and secure as you would like. Tip number 5. Check out the parking situation. Now, this might be something else to look at night when most people are going to be home, and it's going to tell you a lot about the area. If the curb is packed, cars are spilling into red zones, you see a lot of oversized work vehicles. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you do have extra cars, maybe they're not going to fit into your driveway, you want to make sure you're also going to have somewhere to park. And if it's a more dense area with more cars, you might have a little bit more noise. Again, this doesn't automatically mean a bad area, but can definitely affect your quality of life and things that you don't want to have to deal with, like coming home from a late shift and not being able to park somewhere. Tip number 6. Pull up a map and look at what's in the area. Again, you're not just buying the house, you're buying the area and comfort level of living. You want to look for proximity of things like gas stations, bars, 24-hour businesses, industrial properties, major roadways, places where events take place, and on the positive side, things that you're going to use every day, like shopping, dining, and grocery stores. Sometimes the nuisance is not just inside the neighborhood, but it might again be the block over, a busy industrial, commercial area, or your commute to the grocery store might just be a little too far. Now let's talk tools. Number 1 is going to be crime mapping tools. Use local crime maps and police reporting websites when available. But the key here is don't just look at the map, glance over it, and panic over a few dots. What you want to look for is repeat patterns, clusters of incidents, what type of incidents they are, whether activity is near a commercial, business zone, or apartment pocket, and whether the incidents are repeats or if they're isolated. A family should care less about one random event and more about repeated patterns of interruptions and disturbances. Tool number 2 is Google Street View. Now, this can be helpful, but don't make it your end-all be-all. Use it to check for things like property upkeep nearby, if there's any windows that have bars on them, the condition of the homes, and maybe even the front yards of homes in the area, if there are any commercial areas nearby, vacant lots, graffiti, density of parked cars, and walls, fences, and anything buffering you from a commercial area or a busy road. Remember, however, Street View can be outdated, so driving it yourself is always the best. Tool number 3 is going to be your satellite view on Google. This can help notice what standard photos may not show. You're going to use it to identify busy roads nearby, maybe some alleys that you can't see from the listing photos, if there's any flood channels or washes, commercial loading areas. That is going to bring quite a bit of noise, especially in those early mornings. You also want to look for industrial zones, school fields or stadiums nearby. That can also be a lot of late night noise, and your proximity to freeway ramps. Tip number 4, school pickup and commute routes. So even if you're only focused on school ratings, which is going to be super important for the neighborhood that you choose, you want to check the actual routes. Are they good for your family in the morning when you're dropping your kids off to school and then rushing off to work, or picking them up at the end of the day? You want to see how chaotic this feels and if it works for your daily routine. Tool number 5. Now, this is one that sometimes gets overlooked or just not thought about, but your online community pages and forums. Maybe hop on Facebook, type in your neighborhood, say Silverado Ranch, for example. Your neighborhood Facebook groups, local Reddit threads, community forums, they are going to reveal a lot of things that you're not seeing online or in those rosy listing descriptions. You're going to get things like people speeding, street racing at night, how many packages get stolen in the area, safety concerns, noise complaints, if the HOA is really strict, if there's any coyotes, wild animals, noise complaints. But if you just see an individual comment and it only pops up once, maybe take it with a grain of salt. Pay attention to those complaints that you see again and again, and maybe even start a chat with someone and get their insight on that neighborhood. All right, tip number 6 is actually me. It matters who you work with. You don't want to just work with an agent that is trying to sell you the first house that you like. You want to work with someone that can direct you to these crime mapping tools like your local police crime mapping websites, is knowledgeable about the area and can answer your in-depth questions, especially if you're relocating and unfamiliar with Las Vegas. You want someone that can tell you what is nearby and what past clients have honestly said about the area that they've bought in. You also want to have someone that knows the turnover rates. Is this community constantly getting sold, or are there a ton of renters versus owned? And providing tools to get to know the area and the neighborhoods like driving tours. I can help you with all of these. So if you have any additional questions, please reach out. I would be more than happy to share my insights. One of the biggest things I get asked is, what is a safe area? Or I want to be in a safe neighborhood. Well, that's going to be relative to you. Your safe might be different from your friends, might be different from mine. But all of these tools are going to help you narrow down what is right for you and your family. I'm Kathryn, my extension is number 6. Reach out for any of these tips or tools, and I can give you a practical family checklist for finding your perfect neighborhood.